Okay, welcome everybody. It's the first Litsoc of the new term, and a very short term it is too. We've basically only got 3 sessions this term because the last one you'll be in exams and won't want to come to Litsoc. You'll rather be going home and having tea after a long day. So today, because tomorrow is Multicultural Day, we're going to be talking about that. I also will be interested to hear what you've been reading on your holidays. You have a nice holiday, and for the benefit of everybody at home or elsewhere, we're in the quad because it's an absolutely beautiful, sunny, very, very warm May evening, and today is May Day. May Day was a very, very big holiday in the medieval period. So in Oxford today, they were up with the sunrise, the bells were rung, people sang, and everybody jumped into the Thames. Didn't do that here, but we've got Multicultural Day tomorrow. Right, okay, so who would like to start us off this afternoon?
Frida, why don't you start us off?
Yes.
So we're going to pass the microphone. You don't have to hold it, make sure it's close to you as you're...
Hello.
Don't be that close.
Okay.
Testing.
So
I suppose that'll do. Just put the floor
there. Okay. So I've got 2 books today, but I'm going to talk about this one. It's called The Boy at the Back of the Classroom.
And who's it by?
The font isn't that. I know the font isn't that clear. Anjali Kurau. That was a bit.
Major success.
Big success. Yeah.
So it's about a boy who came from Syria. Which is struck by war, and he comes to the back of an ordinary boy in England's class, and they become quite close friends. And then when they start to get to know each other a bit more, he understands what he's going through. And then so the boy who's from Syria is called Ahmed, and he sits at the chair at the back of the class. So yeah.
And what's the significance of the rucksack?
The one on the front?
Well, it's on the back as well.
Oh yeah, on the back. Because that's all he came to England with, right. The backpack, which is the sad reality for a lot of refugees coming from Middle Eastern and European countries as immigrants. So it's a very strong and empowering book about the Syrian culture, and then the boy who's English also starts learning about the Syrian culture as they get to know each other. And then this book, I've talked about this book before, but it's because it's so good.
It's really good. I've read it too now.
So it's about a diary of a girl from Ukraine, and she was actually around a year 7's age around this time, right? Maybe a little older, when she published her diary about everything that was happening during the war. And thankfully, Channel 4 helps her get to the UK, and she's now better, but she's surviving and she's in England, but it's really realistic because you see her text messages from the group chats and photos, so you get to really see an insight of what the children experienced during the war. And then also at the end, it's not only her story, it's also the story about all her other friends, and they also the foreword is actually by Michael Monpogo, and that is probably what made me want to read it, because my friend recommended it to me, so I went and I got it, and then I was reading the foreword, and it really attracts you to the book because it's not only informative, it kind of puts you in that perspective. So yeah, those are my books.
And also it goes with what Mr. Thoughts announced in Assembly this week. Can you think about that?
I don't.
Is that why your hand was up?
No, I read The Boy at the Back of the Class when I was a lot younger, but in the past. So I might be missing the rest of the memories, but I thought they were narrating the girl, because I think
that's a twist. It's a twist.
Yeah.
I don't think you're supposed to know that until...
Yeah.
It's okay though, don't worry.
Sorry, I just remember
anybody else read it.
A lot of people have read it. A lot of people know that.
It was a girl. It was a girl.
It was? I only read this in year 6.
When I was a lot younger, and
when you were in year 5, 6, something like that.
And it was a topic of discussion, and no one could figure out whether it was a boy or a girl. And like it's like there's a tiny like bit where we figured it out.
It's a Zoe at one point.
So is it a twist, or is it? Lucy, you read more recently. Is it a twist, or?
At one point in it, it said the mum was saying to the narrator, like, Zoe, my talking teacher, and she said she addressed her as Zoe. So the narrator was addressed as Zoe.
Just at some much later point on the...
Yeah, I was like, but I think
Her name's only said once, so
Yeah.
Right.
that's
So,
why.
Okay.
Okay,
And then I
that's
think someone
so-
addresses her as
But she
her
plays
as
football.
well.
Yeah.
And she plays football.
But she plays
Okay.
football, so people think she's a. So is she just
So-
like a
And she
classmate?
also likes, like,
So there's a lot of ambiguity.
Yes.
the reason I assumed it was a boy is because, like, the stationary sets at the beginning,
Yeah.
they were generally, like,
Well, there is the title as well.
yeah,
True.
the boy.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So, yeah. But not to say that the girls couldn't like the pencil cases as well, but I thought because in the book it says I went to football and then like also like this cases, I generally thought that it was a boy. But
You see, you're gender stereotyping.
Yeah.
Football, gender stereotyping.
That's
Never
a
mind.
very bad
That's one of those
example of
things.
mine.
Yeah, you've got to
But-
get rid of that mindset.
Yeah.
As do we all.
As do we all, yeah, absolutely.
So, what were you saying recently about?
The Ukrainian. Come on, you were in assembly this morning. Like
It was only the 11 and upwards, wasn't it? Would have heard this. The younger ones.
Oh,
wouldn't
right,
have
the
heard
younger
it.
ones wouldn't.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realise. Come on.
That there's going to be.
Pass it round.
Pass it round, folks. We need to be.
Wait, I can just.
Yeah, we need to be.
Really exciting initiative.
That's some like teenagers around our age next year. They're going to be staying with some families. Who, now year 11s being year 12 and year 13s, and they're going to visit the school and experience life here for 5 days, and also be staying in London for 5 days.
Yeah, and it's to give them a rest from the war as well, because it is incredibly stressful. Still under bombardment every night, and nobody knows where it's going to fall next. So some very lucky. And the idea is also that it will be future leaders of Ukraine, so that they come and see how lucky we are. We are very, very lucky. I know we complain a lot about Britain, but we're still a democracy. We are not under constant bombardment, and we have the right to free speech, and our cultures are really important, and nobody's about to diss them. And anybody who does is torn down quite quickly. So that's a lovely initiative for next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rita. Okay, right. Lucy, do you want to go next?
Okay.
Yeah.
So make sure the mic. You don't have to hold it to make sure. It's
Put it
nice.
on your stack of books.
It's probably
away.
better. It's better to have it like that. Yeah. Otherwise it'll spoil it.
Okay, so, I couldn't find the book I wanted, but it's Le Petit Prince, which, if you don't know, translates to The Small Prince in French. And it's quite a famous book in England and other places alike.
You travel on Eurostar, it's all over the...
Yeah, so the memory that I have most of it is being in year 1 and being taken from break time to watch a performance of it and for an hour.
Right, okay, well, it's not sounding terribly positive at the moment.
No, but I did reread it afterwards because they gave us like CDs and we got the CDs. I still have the CD. And so I've read it and I actually really liked it after I had. It was the prince. I was always a bit confused why he was wearing a bedrobe, but I'm not going to think about that.
Where is he?
Some kind of island.
Some kind of other planet.
Yeah,
Who's he with friend?
it was a long time ago. I only really have the images in my mind.
Why did it sort of capture your imagination? Why did you want to talk about it? You don't have to bit about the details. Why is it you wanted to bring it to our attention today?
Well, because first of all, it's really famous, but also he's quite small, and he does quite a lot, which is quite interesting.
Okay.
So you don't have to be big.
Okay, so an inspiring message.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No.
Okay, who else has read it? Who else is familiar with?
I've seen it, but I haven't read it.
We also have the movie at home, so
We do?
yeah.
So what do you reckon then?
I loved it. I think I read it in French, but it's a really great sort of like story. I think sort of anyone can read it. It has a lot of good lessons in there, and I mean, the setting is just so like it captures my imagination a lot. Like being on a planet somewhere and the like plants and everything. It's so cool. The baobab trees. And then there's like a small rose as well.
We've got Western rose, or Middle Eastern also, because that's where roses come from. And then the baobab trees that grow where?
Yeah.
Where baobab trees grow. Africa. Okay. And there's the upside down trees. We know you're right.
Yeah, my mum's just acting on the concrete.
Right. Okay. Lucy, you've got other books there. Do you want to talk about one of them?
I don't know any of them. I just took them because we were told to
I
don't have books, but I have books to talk about. So I'm just
arrange them artfully.
Pass it on to Annabelle then.
Wait, I just don't have them with me. Can I go after Annabelle? Okay. Cool.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about The Convenience Store Woman.
Yes.
This book is set in Japan, and it's about a woman who's 36, and she has worked in the same convenience store for almost 20 years, so basically her whole life. And she's quite kind of, if you would say, like emotionally attached to the supermarket. Like, she really likes the supermarket, but she doesn't really have many, well, she has some friends, but like she's not married, she hasn't got a boyfriend, she's never had a boyfriend, and like I think it's quite, and then I think the convenience store wants to shut down. Yeah.
Is that the phrase?
Yeah, well, and then she's basically trying to save the supermarket while her friends are trying to persuade her to like go out, try new things, like get a new job, but it's quite hard for her, and it's really funny, and I think it's just quite an easy read for people, but it's also got like quite good messages in there. And
does it convey Japan quite well, do you think?
I think it does.
From ours.
Yeah, it is a really different culture, but I think it is still easy to read if you're not familiar with the culture. So.
Yeah, it's fun, and yeah, it's like it's institutionalized, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the store defines her, she embraces that.
Yeah.
And so even though it's set in Japan, yeah, it does convey Japan very well. It is a message, as we're saying, it's a message that can resonate with all of us, especially at a time like this, when perhaps you're burying yourself in your schoolwork and your revision. Perhaps that's something you identify with. It's like, don't forget about your life outside of that as well.
Yeah.
So, a universal message is multicultural literature.
Yeah.
So recommended?
I would definitely recommend.
Have you read it? Sorry.
What's quite interesting also is I don't know this one at all, so thank you for introducing it to us, but there are lots and lots of Japanese books now about bookshops and other sort of stores, libraries and things, almost as if the story starts in this institution or this store, and then the story comes out.
Yeah.
Which I always find quite interesting, really. It's almost as if they've adopted the sort of Western building that we would understand, and then develop the story from there.
Yeah.
Have you read any of her other books?
No, I haven't.
There's another one called Alien, or Humans, Aliens. It's, as it suggests, it's a bit like Matt Haig's one, isn't it?
Yeah.
And she's kind of reminiscent of Matt Haig. But yes, following from what Miss Henley said, is a new one out called The Healing Season of the Pottery. That's a good recent example, and it is exactly what it says. It's a woman who is dealing with burnt out, bit stressed out, reconnecting with her centre by pottery.
Oh, right.
Essentially. So that's another good sort of
Yeah.
storytelling.
They're all a bit quirky, but
Yes, quirky narrative voices. What is it about her that you find? Would you say she's got a good narrative voice, the main character?
yeah, because she's quite different from a lot of other people, and I don't really think, even though we can all
Identify?
yeah, that's the one. We can all identify with some of her traits. She's quite, with all of them at once, it's quite like a full-on character, but it's quite nice to like understand that, and it's nice to like, because it means that everyone can identify with this character.
Yeah, we recognise ourselves.
Yeah.
In the common thread of humanity. Knows no borders, so to speak.
That was like a book. The reason why I heard of that book is because I went to Central London over the half term, and there was like a new bookshop, and it had like almost a convenience store layout, like an Asian convenience store.
Oh yeah, where is it?
It's near Piccadilly Circus, I think. So that's the stop we got off that.
Right.
But yeah, it's like a bookshop. I thought that I could buy snacks, and I thought that was wrong. But yeah, it has
Japanese.
Yeah.
I think that's a Japanese cultural shop.
Because when I went in, there were like books like convenient. The convenience store one was like one of the ones that like I took the time to look at.
Oh, right.
But then I went to the snack section. The point is, it was a really cool bookshop because you could buy a book and you could buy a snack, and if you bought 2 books, you could get snacks for free.
So basically, to get snacks.
Yeah, it was a pop-up shop though. So
It's a pop-up shop.
Ah, right. Alright, well.
First week of the holiday. Okay.
Alright, well, thanks, Annabelle. Do you want to pass to Alyssa now?
Okay. Hello. So the book, I can't, like the multicultural books that I've read, I either can't think of off the top of my head or someone else is going to say them. So this is what I read over the holidays. I read Tahara Mafi's new book, following on from the Shatter series, Watch Me. It's basically like a continuation of the series, but it's like the government that like rules over everyone in the first series, the re-establishment. There's like they try to take them down, like Aaron and Juliet, but then at the end of the series there's meant to be like a small group of them left over, like the richest ones and the most influential ones, who are have an escape plan and like escape to this island that they've bought off from like the landowners before, and they like have super advanced like technology and stuff, to the point where like anything that even the advanced like technology that the rest of the world has seems like decrepit and ancient even when it's like brand new. And like they train they train like soldiers from like birth and stuff, and especially the ones from influential families who like and they train them to be emotionless and stuff. And it's basically like the main character, they've got most of the main characters from the first series, and it's basically, it opens up with like one of the main characters who's younger in the first book. He's 11 in the first book, but it's 10 years in the future, so he's 21 in this. And it starts off when he's like gets locked up in one of the jails trying to break onto the island to like find out more about the island, and it's really, really cool. It's really good.
It's a very popular series.
Yeah, so it came out on the 16th. And I read it like really recently though, and it's like really good, and I'm really excited for the next book to come out, but it's not been announced yet.
Aren't there like
so.
a billion books in that series?
Chance.
Yeah, 12 books I think.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Wait.
she's written a lot now.
She's
If
written
the
12
series can
books.
go on for 12 books.
No.
like-
I think she's written 12. She's got 3 so far in the This Woven Kingdom book series, and then I think it's like 9 in the other.
Is she like a quick writer? So like,
I don't know. She's got 2 books.
She's really good.
She's got 2 books coming out this year. Watch Me, and then the next book in the wait.
She's desperately poverty-stricken.
I don't think she's poverty stricken now.
Yeah,
But all her books are really good. Oh, and I also read The Naturals. I had read some of it before, but I read the rest. The plot twists in that are like crazy, especially in the last book. But I can't spoil. The first one. I can't spoil the plot twists, but like they're crazy, and like like in the first book, they're like it's a murder mystery by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and it's got some of the similar characters, but like bent to like with different characteristics. So like if you liked, I didn't so much like the Inheritance games, which people might hate me for, and I really loved the Naturals, which is funny because I don't really like murder mystery, but I do know some people who said it was like a bit too gory and they had to stop reading because they've got chapters from the perspective of the serial killer, and like and it's really good. But then you don't know who the serial killer is until the end, and so like the chapters are like they're like called the You chapters, and then it's like you're the serial killer, and it's like from the perspective like of
so
you.
it's second person,
not all of it,
but for that bit. That's really cool.
And then it's basically a bunch of kids who join the FBI because they've got like these abilities. So like one of them can like lie really well and detect lies, and then and like stuff like that, and they have to solve cold cases. But yeah, and they all come for some reason that's like one of them gets given away by their parents because their dad's like committed a bunch of like money laundering and stuff, and then they want to get let off for their crime, so they just give their son away. And then one of them, their dad is like a serial killer, and then I'm making it sound really bad, but it's so good.
Sounds really good.
Anyway, I loved it, and that was really good. It's very complicated. Oh, and one of them, their mum, she found that her mum like dead in like a dressing room, and like it was like never solved, and so she tried to solve the murder. This all happens really soon, so I'm not spoiling anything.
Alyssa, it feels like you just want to go off for a counterpoint to Annabelle's book. You know, Annabelle's like uplifting, accessible, conveniently still woman. Let's go down the opposite direction. Complicated.
I've tried to get her to read it.
Wait, does it do the chapter thing where it talks about one thing and then it goes into like another person's?
So basically, the main character.
Or you find out the good thing that happens.
So the main characters, they're like I think there's five of them. So the main character, she's a girl called Cassie, and then there's a girl called Leah, a girl and a girl called Sloane, and then two guys, one called Dean and one called Michael. And then basically Cassie's the narrator.
No, let's just leave something for us to read. Something.
It's really good.
I think we need to.
There are lots of different characters, obviously,
I'm
Wait,
reading this just to like.
Okay.
He wants the microphone thing.
Next. Do you want to pass the microphone back this way, please?
Which way do I hold it? I don't really know.
Should I just put it just here?
Yeah, that's fine.
So I don't have it with me today, but I'm going to be talking about The Tryout. So it's a graphic novel about this girl who, before the story even starts, she moves from Thailand to America to start, because her family wants to start a restaurant. But then the story starts a bit later with her and her best friend, and it's set ages ago, and I think it's an autobiography.
It's in
Are you ready to?
Yeah, it was in the 1980s, I think. The book is set.
Not that long ago then, but long ago for you guys, yeah. Okay.
So then, her and her best friend are the only two Asian girls in the whole school. So,
You can grab one if you want, Gareth, while you add to talk.
So then, they see this poster for a cheerleading tryout, and in my opinion, they're the two best there. But the plot twist with them not getting in is actually crazy. But then there's this other plot twist at the very end where she joins a different club, but I'm gonna leave which club that is as a surprise. But then it's really realistic. It's not just they stay best friends forever and there's no issues at all. They do have a lot of friendship issues, which is really realistic. And then it's a really good book, and I really enjoyed it.
The family dynamics are also really interesting.
Yeah.
And it's a graphic novel.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is nice to hear about as well. Good.
I think there's a normal version of the book as well.
Is there?
You mean there's a prose version?
Yeah.
Perfectly normal.
That might
Graphic
be
novels
first
are
too.
perfectly normal. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
There's
Well
a
said, Miss Emily.
there's a prose
It's
version
a
of the
hybrid
book as
version,
well, I think.
graphic novel over there, Tsunami Guild.
Yeah.
So,
Right, anybody else?
who would like to go next? Samira, do you want to pass the microphone to Samira, please, folks? Thank you.
So I wanted to talk about the inheritance games, and I read it over the half term. So I have the third book with me today, and it's basically about this girl called Avery Grams, and she inherits this fortune of a dead billionaire, and she has to live in the house for a year to earn her fortune. But like this book is already further into the series and starts solving more mysteries about it, and the romance in this book kind of progresses more. And I really enjoyed it. The plot twists were interesting and they were nice.
So it's an interesting character. What about this house? Is that quite interesting as well, the setting?
Yeah, it's very big, and there's a forest next to it where a bit of the first book happened as well.
And she's inherited it when the family haven't, isn't that right?
Sorry?
She's inherited it, but the family are left out of the inheritance.
Yeah, they had some of the inheritance, but especially his daughters, they didn't have much. They had a compass and a ring, I think. And the grandchildren, they inherited 250,000, I think.
What's your opinion?
I will say though, is someone that...
Sorry?
Your opinion of Avery?
She's fine. I don't really like her that much, but yeah.
She's a bit annoying.
Yeah.
I know a lot of you have read this. What's the one thing we like about this book? Why is it so popular at the moment?
I think it went on too long, but the first
Grayson,
guys.
The one decent guy is Xander.
Nash. I'm Nash.
What about annoying?
Right, Esther.
Fair enough, to be honest.
Well, the one decent guy in it is Xander, and then all the other guys are a bit annoying.
She's not annoying. He's just never in it.
Jameson and Nash are perfect.
I love Grayson, Nash and Xander, just Jameson and
Libby is...
I feel like the series just went on too long, but the first books were really good, and they had really good plot twists and stuff.
The first trilogy was good.
She's like still going.
The last one was a bit bad.
I think it was meant to only be like one or two books, and then she just kept on extending it because it was really popular.
The two books were good, but then the third one was a bit like bad.
It gets boring because the plot is kind of the same, just in different places.
Sometimes publishers...
The second book was my favourite. I read it in a day.
They use like
on
formulas
Boxing
for if they like write within a genre a lot, like they'll like use formula for a plot.
Yeah, exactly.
So it gets repetitive and it gets boring, and there's only so much you can like retell something. You've got that happening with the Thunder Game.
Oh, you can label it harder anything.
Twilight. Oh my god.
Well, Twilight.
Do you remember Twilight days? That was so bad. Let's not talk about that. We do not mention that.
I feel like Avery doesn't know, and like the family at that moment doesn't know why she has the fortune.
Yeah, that's
but
quite
if
funny.
you read like, I don't know if it's still part of the series, like you know the explanation book.
I never really found out why. I read them all, but I don't remember where she got it.
I don't remember if it was Avery's.
I thought he kind of just felt like giving it to her because he wanted to be
Avery's
annoying.
mum supposedly, like, wait, I don't want to spoil it.
Don't
Let me
spoil.
just say,
I mean, actually, no. I think I remember.
Avery's mum helped people. Avery's mum helped someone in that family. Which
But
is
that's
why.
such a boring reason.
No,
It's more complicated than that.
Spoil it. It's more complicated than that.
I read
but
the
if I
first
say
up
a
until
name,
the whole,
everyone will
the
be
Hawthorne
like,
Brothers
that's
or whatever
such a
it was
big
called.
deal.
Yeah,
Right, let's move on.
stop
Let's move
reading
on,
it.
folks. Thank you very much, Mira.
The Naturals is
Okay, who's next? Who hasn't spoken? Right, pass. The mic needs to go down the other end, please.
It's like a pasta
I have a copy of
parcel.
Twilight by my bed, and I read it.
So I don't have the book on me, but I was going to talk about The Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas. It followed because the main. It's a while since I've read it, so I have forgotten all the main characters' names. But the main character, a big part of the book is about him and his like identity as a Latino American, and the fact that he's in a community of people who have all immigrated to America, and kind of fitting in with that, and simultaneously, and you have like fantasy in it as well, because you have this cultural tradition of being like magic users, but it's split between men do one thing and women do the other, and the main characters are trans boys, so he kind of, part of it is the clash between that and like the kind of like what he's been told culturally that he should do, and kind of his exploration of that, because the men are able to like resurrect the dead and communicate with the dead, which hence the cemetery. So one of the big things is that he attempts to do it in the book, to kind of prove, as part of like to prove himself, in his identity. But yeah, I think that's. I think I found the premise more interesting than all of the aspects of the book. But I think the kind of the things about like the cultural heritage and that clashing with your identity and that I thought was really interesting and explored really well.
So set in America,
yeah.
And where you said the main characters and influence, there's others. Where have they come from? If you can't remember the exact
I can't remember exactly.
You know,
it's all. He's in a community all with people from Latin America.
Oh, Latin America.
Latin
They're all
America.
Latin America.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but I can't remember exactly where he's from because there's different people from different places.
That's fine. Just curious because it's a different experience in Latin America than if you're African.
Yes, but that doesn't mean you just have to have Mexican parents.
Yeah, it could be like Argentina.
I know, but there's probably a chance.
So what was the title again?
Cemetery Boys.
Which leads me to remember that at the beginning of the holiday, a great Latin American writer died, Mary Litsoc, who I've only read one of his, but it's called Julia and the Scriptwriter, and it's very, very funny. It's about the influence of soaps on a culture, but also this guy's family. I remember it being very funny, and also the trope of the soaps in the afternoon and how they use it was really good as well. And he was a major Nobel laureate as well, so a big loss for Latin America, and influenced by Borger as well, another great Nobel laureate. Okay, all right. Anybody else? Holly, yeah.
Okay, well,
of course.
I'll just go.
Thank you. Okay. I think to say that this is part of Multicultural Day may be a bit of a stretch, but I did read it over half term. So it's Sophocles' Theban Plays, which is, you guys probably know Oedipus.
I went to see it at the Old Vic. I went to see it at the Old Vic recently. It was so good.
That's so cool.
For those who don't know Oedipus, very, very briefly, what is it Oedipus is most famous for?
Killing his father and marrying his mother. Yeah, don't question it.
We'll just go.
So, the Theban Plays is a collection of three: Oedipus the King, or Rex, or Tyrannus, Oedipus at Colonus, and Antigone, which are just all amazing. I kind of knew the premises beforehand, but even when you know the plot line, like the writing is just so good and like every bit is so intense. I think something I often don't like about Greek tragedy is the choral odes, which can get a bit long and boring, but I think especially in Oedipus the King, they were done really well in terms of like they actually aren't just like lamenting the whole time, they're actually like furthering the plot and talking, which I think is really good. But then as well for Multicultural Day, I would want to recommend Pachinko by Min-Jin Lee, which I think I talked about before, but I'm not sure. Which is really good. It follows like generations of a family. It starts with a woman who lives in Korea in the early 1900s, and then she moves to Japan, and it follows that family through the generations, and it really looks at the kind of view of the Japanese towards Koreans during the like Japanese colonization of Korea, which is just really interesting. It's done really well. I think the characters are great, plotline's great. I'd really recommend it. And also, Josie reminded me of there's like a musical called In the Heights, which you might know. It's by Lin-Manuel Miranda, who also did Hamilton. And it's set in like a Latin neighborhood called Washington Heights, which is where the name is from. It's my favorite musical of all time. I think it's amazing. It also has a film which came out a few years ago. So
the film.
Yeah.
It's like the album cover, like a sunset.
It has like all the actors.
Yes.
From Hamilton. Yeah.
It's really, really good. I think one thing I really like about it is it has a good mix of kind of English and Spanish, which I think is done really well because it's written for kind of an English speaking audience, but there are kind of just a few words and phrases where, when you're speaking informally with people and you're going to kind of switch in between English and Spanish if you're both bilingual in both, and that kind of really comes through in the music really well. I think it's amazing and everyone should listen to it. But yeah, if musicals aren't your thing, I would also really recommend the film.
What was the book?
Which one?
The one you were talking about.
This one?
Yeah.
It's The Theban Plays by Sophocles, but the famous one is Oedipus the King. You're welcome.
Alright, thank you, Holly. Oh yes. Okay, so we're some countries are having a couple of books, so I'm going to do another Japan set one, and then I'll do another one to get Africa in on the act. So this is Tsunami Girl, and it's a hybrid, as I was saying, of a novel, prose, and a graphic novel. And it's, as the title might imply, it's set during a tsunami. And 2011, yeah, absolutely. Which, yeah,
terribly traumatic.
Yeah, huge,
in all sorts of ways.
Hugely devastating. One of the more devastating natural disasters we've had in recent times. And essentially, the protagonist, she is a mixed race girl, and she lives with her grandfather. Tsunami strikes, and I think there's another. Oh yeah, that's right. There's an imaginary superhero creation who inspires her to deal, because she gets separated from her beloved grandfather. How am I going to deal with this disaster situation? How am I going to get reunited with my grandfather? She channels her imaginary superhero friend, and so is borrowing from manga influences. And yeah, it's actually probably more novel than graphic novel flicking through it. But yeah, it's very. There you go. There's more there. So yeah, it's very effective. Works brilliantly. Beautiful illustrations, and one of the authors is Julian Sedgwick, brother of Marcus Sedgwick. Right. Rest in peace.
Oh, may rest in peace.
Yeah, and it was shortlisted for the Carnegie Medal. So yeah, there's another great example of Japanese fiction. And I'll just briefly talk about this one too. This is an orchestra of minorities. Now, Miss Huntley and I, this was shortlisted for the Booker Prize back in 2019. Miss Huntley and I went to the Booker Prize readings, and he was there along with the other Booker shortlisted authors.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, it was a special year, wasn't it?
It was 2019. I can't remember which one won that year. Flanagan. Narrow Road to Deep North.
Narrow Road to the Deep North, sorry.
Road to Nowhere.
Well, that too.
So this one, it's I think it's Nigeria it's set in, and essentially, set across Nigeria and Cyprus, because the main character is a chicken farmer, very impoverished, and he has an opportunity to get out of his impoverished circumstances by being offered a place at university in Cyprus. So he goes there, but it turns out to all be a scam. And he ends up there stranded, and he's got no one to turn to, nowhere to go. He's also left behind a woman who he deeply loves back in Nigeria. And essentially, it's the story of, okay, how does he get out of this situation? It's very hard-hitting. It's not a cheerful read, but it is very beautifully written, and it does document the sort of, because we've been talking about the refugee experience a bit with these books, it does document the refugee experience very well, especially those who are sort of fleeing desperate circumstances, looking for a better life. And the title, An Orchestra of Minorities, that refers to, if I remember correctly, memory's a little hazy here, it refers to a type of bird song, and how that bird song, how can I put it? It's almost like, how that articulates the voiceless, those who are sort of oppressed or have no voice of their own, because he has no voice of his own. So that's essentially what it is. So yeah, it's very heart-wrenching. I think it's not. I don't know if you've read it. No. Yeah, it's not the most uplifting read, as is the case with a lot of Booker reads, I'm afraid. So yeah, so I just thought I'd mention that one because Africa has not been had a look in yet. I feel like every continent might have been mentioned by now, though. Mm-hmm. So I'll hand you over to you now, Miss Huntley.
Okay, I'm going to talk about something about Ukraine, but also about Europe. One of my favourite non-fiction books is The Hare with Amber Eyes, which is non-fiction, and it's about the exploration of a potter. I can't remember his name. What's his name?
I don't remember either.
Anyway, he is Jewish. His grandmother came here after the war. They're an Austrian family, and the focus of the novel is a hare which is actually Japanese Litsoc, which are tiny little carvings, usually in ivory, that would have been worn or displayed in Japanese homes, and they were highly prized in 19th century Europe. And his family had a collection in Paris, but also in Vienna. In Vienna, they lost their home to the Nazis, and it's about the story of this Litsoc. His great uncle goes back to live in Japan, makes a life there after the war, and it's very, very special. And he's written quite a lot of books. Sorry, I can't remember his name, but anyway, The Hare with Amber Eyes is about the multiculturalism of the world, really, and the fact that if you think about what comes off the container ships from China and the Middle East, and we're in a global tariff war at the moment, if you think about what you're wearing, where it's come from, where it's been made, we are a multicultural society, and where we live is one of the most diverse in the world, and we're lucky to have that as well, because we can, I grew up in the 1960s, olive oil you had to buy at Boots, the chemist, because it was used for doing things to your ears. We didn't use it for cooking, only the Italian community did, and they were very small. So all sorts of things have burgeoned since the 1960s because of migration and because of people sharing ideas as well. Not only because they're refugees, but also because they're migrants as well. And part of that was being part of Europe for so many years as well. So I'm going to finish off with something I've talked about before. This is Andrei Kurkov, who was born in Leningrad in Russia, but now sees himself very firmly as Ukrainian, a voice for the Ukrainian people. Death and the Penguin is set in Odessa, and it's about Victor and Misha. Misha is the penguin. Penguins, there's a film out in the cinemas at the moment called The Penguin Lesson with Steve Coogan. And one of the things that, when I read The Penguin Lessons, one of the things that the protagonist there has to understand is that penguins are actually gregarious people. So when they're not with their own tribe, as it were, when they're on their own, they're very, very depressed. And poor Misha is very depressed because Victor never realises what penguins need. And the reason that Victor looks after Misha is because the zoo has been closed due to economic cuts. And Victor is a writer, and it's a surreal dystopian because it's under the Soviet Union, so it's completely mad what happens, and he gradually becomes aware that the things that he's writing lead to the death of people. So is he causing the death? Or is he just foreshadowing it? Is he some sort of weird sister like in Macbeth? Or is there something more sinister going on? And Kurkov's work continues to be like this. It's very much black comedy. Now he's got a detective series running set in Lviv in the 1919, which is early Soviet Union, when the Civil War is just still raging, and very much applies to current circumstances in Ukraine. He's a great author, and basically the dilemma of Ukraine, where there's so much cultural heritage from Russia, and of course Russia want it back, and the language too, the influence of the language is all here also.
Isn't the part where Russia's closing in on Ukraine now Russian speaking Ukraine?
They want Russia want to keep the parts of Russian speaking, yes, yeah. But on the other hand, people have rediscovered Ukrainian culture and the Ukrainian language as well, and how important that is. And of course, we're all hoping that eventually they'll be able to become part of Europe. So,
Ukraine isn't already part of Europe.
The European Union.
Not the European Union.
I was about to say, how can you
just like Latvia and Lithuania and Estonia
yes.
Which used to be part of the Soviet Union. Romania, Bulgaria, Hungary were also ex-Soviet Union.
Would it be harder for those countries to get into the EU because of their Soviet background?
It wasn't hard in the 90s. We're still got an issue now because for various reasons they think if they let them into the EU, 27 countries have got to agree, and it's going to be quite difficult, and also they don't want to anger Putin, so that we have more problems, but I think it will happen eventually. So celebrate Multicultural Day tomorrow. Thank you for all your contributions, and next week
Carnegie Medal
is the Carnegie Medal, because the announcement is...
It's in June, but it'll be...
But we're looking at the shortlist.
Yeah, we're looking at the shortlist, and also past winners. I'm sure you've definitely read some of the past winners.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about those.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
And look forward to your costumes tomorrow. See what you dress up as.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, should we wait for the camera? Bye.
Bye.
Bye.